So happy to be the speaker today with the invitation from Aerocham. So so I know today we have main audience is not only the Vietnamese but also some international audience, or mainly in European zone. So that's why I would like to present in English. But I know some of you, if not familiar with English, you can go to truyền hình Quốc hội and search Cbam, and I already talked in Vietnamese. It maybe quite familiar with you. But yeah, for sure, I follow up with the two previous speakers to talk about the Cbam in generally, and also some impact of Cbam to Vietnam economy system. My third presentation will be go quite focused about the Cbam similarity scenarios for non-EU countries. So it means it's not only Vietnam, but other countries also have some action and also some implications which is recommend to Vietnam also. So so let me introduce about my firm, like from the sexual introduction. So Kinova is established just only 3 years old, but we are confident that we based on our group from Energy Việt Group. Actually, I established it more than 10 years ago when I was in Germany and I worked for CDM project. And then now Kinova would like to become the trustful partner and providing services in a wide range of expertise on energy, climate, and environment subject. And also Cbam is also our consulting services. Later on, I will talk why, but happy to know that Kinova is appreciate that we can be the representative for the Cbam seminar webinar today. So my content, I would like to give you some slide on next 15 minutes. It's not so much slide, only nice slides. But I will mainly talk about firstly the analysis of Euro trade partners in Cbam cover products. To give all of you the overall where is Cbam, where are the countries over the world in comparison with the European countries. And also, I would like to mention about the Cbam-like initiatives in the non-EU countries. Non-EU countries mean including some countries we have the similar mechanism, and also other countries who have not the Cbam-like initiative or have to suffer about the Cbam like Vietnam. Because I know some of audience here, they are not work only in Vietnam, they work in the globally, so it's not only the side, the view from the Vietnam, but also from other country. The third, I would like to have only one slide to quickly mention about the implication for the trade partners here. So which is maybe quite closely linked to your interest. Yes, so the first slide I would like to mention about the EU market with the top 20 luckiest partners here. Some is quite surprised when we talk about Cbam. We think it's the top of the country, which is import. Okay, we export to European. It's not only the developing country. Firstly, is the Switzerland is quite surprising. Is they are in the European, but they are the top one of the export value to European. And then secondly, is a country you can see here, the Russian and also China is logically. And Turkey is quite closely in European zone also. And UK, after Brexit, they are also with the top 5 of the exporting country to European. And Norway and India, of course, South Korean and Serbia, Ukraine. And we can have the quick view that's where is Vietnam, so you see. This data is based on the Swiss database. It's not, how to say, easy to comparison with other statistic data, but at least they have the same statistic system. And they mentioned here is Vietnam is the top 12 of the country which have the value in exporting value in Vietnam. And I'm sure that many audience here, you already have some partner or have some already activity for exporting to one of country in European. I mentioned it's one of country in European. I will explain later why. Even the Cbam is covered for all European, but of course our client will be have the partner maybe in Germany, in France, or other country. It's quite hard, but of course is something will be those later on I will mention. But I put the number from top 1 to top 20 here to give the people for the overall the pictures as where's Vietnam. And later on, again, so this is one mentioned about Cbam, which is one was mentioned before. There are only 6 products, is including steel, cement, aluminum, hydrogen, fertilizer, and electricity. It's not the all everything is exported to Vietnam, to European. That is why Vietnam is top 12. And of course, even some country in Southeast Asia, we have only one friend from Indonesia, is the top 20. Other country like Thailand is not in top here. It's fine because the Cbam is not cover everything, so that's why we have the overall picture to you. This next slide, I would like to break down the Cbam import. So it's quite important, and here I would like to just go down with the only 10 top 10 exporter by Cbam effect product and in comparison in Vietnam. It means it's some product Vietnam is in top 10. It's quite emergency for this sector if we are in the top 10. But of course, other we are out of the top 10, so I'm not mentioned here. Of course, I excluding the electricity and hydrogen, which is have not yet enough data for statistics, but I will go with only 4 Cbam effect products here. First is the aluminum. So you can see here, when you see this Norway is the top 1, and it's here is by percent for sure, and Vietnam is out of top 10. I mentioned here is mean it's different depend on the product. The effect is different. Aluminum for sure, Norway is the most affected countries, and later on the Turkey, Russia, and Thailand, China, UAE, or India, or something. Vietnam is out of the top 10 I mentioned here, and which is very small, which is exactly the same thing Dr. Long which mentioned, that is something like aluminum. We have some product exporting to European, but it's not much of other country. The question will be go later on with the implication, but I mentioned the overall picture to know that where is Vietnam, and of course including some of my European country, European companies which is now located in Vietnam, and also others. Yeah, and the second is the cement. Cement is the most affected, at least from the statistic from Swiss database. Is Vietnam here is top 6, so it's quite emergency. And you can see the first is in Turkey. Turkey in the aluminum is second, but now in the cement, Turkey is the top 1. And also next is Algeria and Ukraine and Tunisia. Tunisia, I not mentioned the number in the name of Tunisia. It means that Tunisia is not in the top 20 in the country which is have the export importing product to European. Yeah, exporting to yeah. And other like Belarus also, even they are the top 10, but they are not included in the top 20. So it means some product even is not in the top 20, but is in the products, they will be have some quite strong effect. And in Vietnam, we have 2.68%. Yes, quite less compared to Turkey or Algeria or Ukraine, but it's mean within the top 6. The next example is the iron and steel, because follow the organization, I know that almost audience today, they come from not only in 1 or 2 sector, maybe they can come in general, even they are not the processing or product producer, they also the consulting services or logistic or something. But I would like to mention also something like, for example, an iron steel, Vietnam is top 7. And yeah, and you see iron and steel, China is the top 1, and Turkey is always in the top 1 or 2. is the second, and India and Russia. And UK, even UK, we are surprised. UK is, we don't think that UK export a lot of iron steel to European, but they are, and they're in the top 5. And South Korean is also one country in Asia, also, and Ukraine and Vietnam is top 7. And I think it's 4% is quite huge, and I can quickly conclude that iron and steel sector in Vietnam will be the most affected sector under the Cbam mechanism. Yeah, and also is Switzerland and Japan. Similarly, with the fertilizer, agree that Vietnam is out of the top 10, and it was quite very small compared to other countries. And fertilizer, we can see is the top 1 in Russia and Algeria and Egypt, and tobacco, even they are in the top 20. And even US, you still see. Why? Yeah, US here is quite far from European, but they have the very quite lot of fertilizer exporting. Some statistic in fertilizer is sometimes quite confusing for someone, especially for who is concerned to policy development, because fertilizer they cover in general, but the main 2 product is, first it is the ammonia, and the second is the ammoniac acid. So the next slide would be show something is average. This number is quite consistently with other study or publication. But for the something, I would like to mention here about the value and the component to see what is Cbam, because my main thing talk about the some Cbam line mechanism. Why I show some product and country here, because the objective or the key thing for every mechanism now is applicable in Europe, but also is green, like Dr. Long said, that is a globally application. It's for energy transition. It's not only to talk about how for payment, for carbon tax, or for Cbam certificate, like Ms. Loan mentioned in the first presentation, but also to request strongly that all of the enterprises and product producing should be converted to energy transition or greening their business ecosystem. That's why we go to next slide. Is we mention about the carbon intensity. Carbon intensity is maybe quite technical. It's still to all of you, I think so. Excluding some climate expert or environmental expert. Carbon intensity is mentioned to produce 1 ton of product, how much of emission will be released to atmosphere. So you can see the same mechanism for exporting to Europe is the same, everything export to Europe before, excluding one thing. It means the greenhouse gas inventory report. But it's not like the greenhouse gas inventory report by country or by cities or something. This inventory report is still some report, but they follow the products processing. So it means the carbon intensity to identify exactly which emission amount per exactly product. So the Cbam product, they not mention about the everything. Not everything in aluminum sector will suffer by Cbam effect. Only some product, and in European regulations, they mention exactly the name of product by the code. For exporting code, before we know maybe almost you here familiar with the HS code for exporting or importing. But European, they already produce the new name code like NA code. They will identify it's a simple product or complex product, and it will be suffered by Cbam. So again, not all of the aluminum sector will suffer by iron or cement or fertilizer or hydrogen will be suffered by Cbam, but only exactly the name of each product will be suffered, and the list of product is already public online. You can see it easily. And here something is data we do from Kinova. We do is something based on the SQL ACO based database. So it means there can be different compared to other, but at least we know where we are. Firstly, here you see, for example, the aluminum, the carbon intensity in aluminum sector in South Africa is the highest. And then is the Brazil and Russia and Indonesia. And you can see again, South Africa is not in the top 20 of the exporting country to European, but they are the top one of the aluminum sector. It means if South Africa companies, they have not yet the carbon tax or carbon pricing, they are the first and top will be suffer and affect a lot by Cbam. Other country like Brazil, Russia, and Indonesia, it should be high. Of course, the carbon intensity here will be affect the Cbam or not. Now, I don't know, and even European, they don't know. That's why they have the transition phase from now to 2026. So if some country, they have the carbon intensity from aluminum product, if they is less than the average of the carbon intensity of the European product, they will not suffer by Cbam. So you see, it's here, it's look like the top 5 will be suffer, but or top 6, I don't know, because the average of the Cbam of the carbon intensity in Europe now is quite large. So it's not fixed yet. They will update exactly the time they will be. So that's why the Cbam, they have the transition time and they need the data at least. So this is answer to you why the company right now to until 2026, they just have reporting, because with this reporting, the employee will understand which country will have the effect by the Cbam, which is not. So that's why they have to bring more transparent and fair for every enterprises. I had a quick look here. Aluminum right now, the carbon intensity of European is 0.068. So it's been from Mexico above this suffer, but Korean, Taiwan, and Japan maybe not. Of course, in right now, I'm not sure it's the next 3 years. It's because technology is changing also, and also other countries they also. And the same is the cement. The cement here is using the quite large, so from China to US they're different. But the cement now the average carbon intensity of European country product is 0.6. Or here the 6. So it means from Mexico above will be suffer, but South Africa maybe not. And that is you see that like why USA also have it and South Korea also. Maybe they have not the suffer. That is just bring some view, the very long-term view for all of you. I'm not sure that in the next 2 years, this data will be changing. That's why all of the company have to report. The report is not request for the verifier, but later on the second phase, the greenhouse gas inventory report together with the Cbam document, they will be verified exactly the thing, the same with the carbon credit verifier before. The same with iron and steel and fertilizer. With iron and steel, it's also quite large, but you see, Indonesia maybe is the most country which have the impact of the Cbam. But you can see in the couple of months, Indonesia already published the carbon credit market, which is quite advanced for our neighbor. But Vietnam have not yet published. We propose to have the carbon market in the 2028 is for the next couple of years. And fertilizer is the same. And we are not say that we are not say that is affect or not, but again we can see that is some effect. The fertilizer is the same, and Russian and India and US. You can see US is quite important. They are not affect by the fertilizer, but again I mentioned that it's for the fertilizer sector. It depends on the product. So maybe here's the average number, but maybe US just export only the adipic acid or ammonia or acid nitrogen, nitric acid. So it should be go in detail in which product to suffer the Cbam or not. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned about the US, because US they have now, until my understand is the Cbam line initiative is the US state. The difference between the US and European is, firstly, the US they don't apply for the transition phase. The Clean Competition Act in be applied in the first of next year, and there are no transition time. And one more thing is they doesn't apply any difference between the company in US or the company outside US, including European or other non-European country, including Vietnam. It's the first important thing. And the Clean Competition Act is proposed in the last years in June, and they propose that they will be applied in 2024. You can see in the table I show here. Of course, it's something is affect for federal level, because United States they didn't have the federal carbon market. They have only the carbon market in some state like California or Mexico, New Mexico, or Oregon. So again, so in US they have something different compared to Cbam of Europe, but they are the same mechanism. It means if some product they will get emission more than the average emission, they will be served by carbon credit or something like Cbam certificate or whatever. But again, they request the product should be reduce the emission per product. And one more important thing is I just talk at the federal level. Of course, in the detail, like in the regional level, maybe they will talk about the transportation fuel or aviation fuel. But I mean, the big difference compared to Cbam is the US they cover 12 product. I mean the sectoral product, and it's more advanced than Cbam, because of course they come later and they go in exactly products, and it's the 12 product that you mentioned: fossil fuel, refinery product, petroleum product, petrochemicals, fertilizer, hydrogen, adipic acid, cement. You see, adipic acid is one type of fertilizer product which is in design of European, but now they separate. Fertilizer is fertilizer, adipic acid is adipic acid. It's not combined each other. It's maybe easy for company to follow which product of their company will be suffered by Cbam or CCA. I mean the Clean Competition Act of US. And also there's something more outside of the Cbam of European, like paper or ethanol or glasses. It's something is quite different. And also the US they already have planned in 2026 that except for other product or even own up imported product which is have higher than 500 pounds, it means more than 226 kilograms to cover energy intensive and primary. Yeah. This is actually a lot of things. It should be talk about the United States Cbam line initiative, but I would like again. So the company they don't need to take look like the Cbam in European in Europe in US. If you some company here they have some product exporting to US, you should focus exactly the product and which is requirement and which is the carbon intensity. I mentioned again, the company they don't care about the how the mechanism going on. It's a global market already, so they care about the emission. Mentioned here the carbon intensity in their product is quite important, and it should be not only the cover here. They have to do for own a product in your company. So it means if your company have one product, yeah, it's so easy for reporting. But if your company have 1,000 products, it's take a lot of time and work. I'm sure. And later on, all the type of product should be do. It's not only good for the environment in Vietnam, but also it's good for the competition for the product in globally market. It's in like the green product compared to normal product. It's something I would like to conclude about the Cbam initiative. Until now, I just find only the United States, uh, but as a country now mainly the discussion focus about how to address the potential impact of the Cbam only. It's so interesting. Some countries they have some similar mechanism to suffer by similar mechanism, but some country they suffer the impact of the Cbam. It means they, of course, it's like the defend or attack. So like US, they do something like attack for European product, but as a country, we are defense. So we defend the impact of the European Cbam. So I have to quickly, like you can see, remember is my first slide. So UK is on one key exporting country to Europe. So in 2021, the discussion already launched by Environmental Auditing Committee, but the potential of that is still under assessment. So it means it's not none of public, but they already consider since 2 years ago. And Canada also, the issue of concentration for exploiting carbon adjustment for Canada, but no committed conclusion has been made. So at least you know that's where we are and how going on of the other country outside of the European. And the same is also with the seeking international cooperation in climate regime, especially with EU and United States, is something Canada is going on. It means half of defense, half of attack. It's quite interesting even for me when I find out when my desk review. Oh, sorry. The China and South Korean, they concrete the legislation proposal have not been introduced to follow the Cbam line mechanism, but they already concede. I mentioned why when you see some previous slide is some product even in it come from China or Korean, even they export a lot to European, but they have lower carbon intensity. So if they have the low carbon intensity and the technology is enough good, they are not thinking it seriously. They think about the carbon tax in the market, and you can see is like China, they already have the carbon market, even they have 7 carbon market, and now they combine one is the national carbon market. But you see, they can already apply for some product in some market is different. So it means depend on the product, they will have different effect by the Cbam in Europe or even CCA from US later on. That's why I talk quite a lot, but of course it's a lot of questions is go later on. But and I go into my last slide. I would like to talk about the implication on this. So the first that I mentioned, now our audience is not policymaker for sure, it's the private sector. And I have some recommendation exactly for your business. First, it's very important, and I request and recommend is the offset of carbon emission. So as I explained, there are a lot of things, a lot of standard, a lot of requirement because a lot of big mechanism, but focus about the Cbam. So proactive of greenhouse gas inventory reporting to understand the carbon footprint is appropriate tool. There are a lot of tools, so a lot of purpose, maybe something just for marketing, maybe just for request from the supply chain, some request by even the regulation from the Vietnam or any country which is company of or factory is based, or even Cbam. But like ISO, GG protocol, life cycle assessment, or carbon footprint, there are a lot of tools. So it's very technically and very request very deep expertise. So the company can do by themselves, or you can ask the consultant to do it. But for sure, the consultant to have to understand what is purpose from the reporting. Many type of reporting, if we are not carefully, we will waste a lot of time and money. And this the annually, like the auditing report. So don't think it's 1 or 2 years to do. It's for annually. It's quite key important point. and including emission from their operation, supply chain, and transportation. It should be bring a lot of things confusing for some company when they don't or understand why they have to do scope 1, scope 2, even scope 3. Even scope 3 is now it's a lot of negotiation and discussion and not clear enough for enterprises boundary. It's something the company should be considered and think first, even if voluntary or mandatory. The secondly is a supply chain analysis. It should be analysis for carbon emission associated with the entire of supply chain, because they will help you to reduce the emission by yourself, by green transition, by technology replacement, or you can think it's not costly, you can buy some carbon credit. It's fine, it's open and fair for all. So it's not mean everybody have to be, because it's a low carbon intensity, it's accepted, and the rest, if it's impossible for reduce, we can buy some carbon credit or Cbam certificate, and it's the market drive. It's not by any supply chain or government will request, because now we are in the free trade globally market system. The third recommendation is mean carbon reduction strategy. So again, so it depends on the investment and cost, and they develop and implement strategy to reduce GC inventory within company, including energy efficiency, renewable energy, and implementing sustainable practice is quite important. It's for easy disclosure, or it's just for marketing, it's just for the competitive, for the green label, or many things. But the carbon reduction should be going strategy. It's not in for the next 5 years to suffer Cbam. It should be bring longer, like net zero or carbon neutrality for next 20 years. If company think that they will be grow up and they will remain their business model. And the last but not last is the risk assessment and scenario planning. It's quite important. I mentioned that not only Europeans, they will design the Cbam. Later on, other countries, even they not public, like Canada, Korean, China, or even some country like even Turkey or Russia, maybe they will have some similar in Cbam. Nobody knows, but to develop the scenario that is anticipate the potential impact of Cbam or similar Cbam mechanism is quite important, and it help to not only to suffer any request regulation of the market, but also it's a sustainable way, which is any business model should be achieved. I think my slide is stopped now, and I hope that my information can give you some valuable information and give you more overall feedback, overall picture on the Cbam line mechanism in other country, even something related directly with your business model. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you, Dr. Nam, for your valuable information. It was a little bit extended the presentation, but very, very insight meaning. So now it's time for Q&A session. If you have some points that you want to discuss with our speakers, please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand, and we can start the discussion. Someone for audience, let me check if we have some raised questions. I think everybody's quite shining. So, Florian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergio and Eurochem, for organizing this event, and all our speakers for this in-depth review of the Cbam. The Cbam, I'm following it quite some time, because it comes also with the CSRD. A lot of these big pieces of legislations alongside the supply chain when it comes to dealing with Europe. And as I see, the same happens as it does with CSRD. Cbam also suffers from a lot of just incorrect information which are going out. And it's very good that we have today here these experts, because I join many events, and there are things talked which are scary. scaring in a way of scaring people away from, oh my God, now is Cbam coming. I heard last time from professionals talking to hundreds of entrepreneurs, Vietnamese entrepreneurs, if you export something to Europe where you process aluminium, then Cbam. Oh my God, this is just so wrong. I think it's so important to make absolutely sure this is not applying to composed product. It's not about the aluminium in your Samsung phone. It's not about the iron in, it's not about the can where maybe Vietnamese fruits are exported to Europe. This is not about these processed products. I think it's so important to look at these tables. The Annex 1, I think it's in the Cbam regulations, where you have, as Nam mentioned correctly, the HS and the CN codes, where it really tells you. And then, oh my God, then we have just a small number of companies even have to deal with that at the moment. It is right. You have to look at the future. But in the moment, this panicking about everything which contains aluminium and steel and iron is under Cbam is just so fundamentally wrong. And I think this is such an important message and will be a relief to many people. And I'm really hoping that we can bring, as it was demonstrated today, the benefits finally are enormous. But there is no reason to panic about that. And this is not another crazy obstacle of the EU as it is sold, unfortunately, permanently, or it is demonstrated. This is a great opportunity for Vietnam to gradually, from the very beginning, from the basic industrial manufacturing of all these raw materials, to climb up the ladder of greener products. So I think this must be a message out by Eurochem as well. Please look at this list. Are you dealing with that? If not, have an eye on it, but don't worry now.
Correct. It's very, very important, your message, Florian. It was very clear. It's not a scary procedure or a scary that will ban the trading between the countries.
No, but it's commonly, I'm sure that most of our participants today were not really aware of this. Really read this annex, the annex number 1, and we should really send it around. And if you, it's so important. Cbam is nothing to be scared of.
Correct. So we have another question. I will, let me see if I can read it. Yes, I can. So from KTPC Wong Jiang, that say that I have a question. Global value chain includes the use of intermediate inputs. So we need to pay only Cbam allowance for emissions produced in Vietnam, or need to include the whole emission in the production process, even this GHG is from another countries. So from our speakers who want to answer this question, also the question is available in our chat. You can read better. Maybe Ms. Lowen? Yes.
Yeah, actually, in the implementation regulation of the European Commission, they have provide very details about the boundaries of the value chains for individual sectors and individual product. So it depends on the sector that you are producing. But actually, the input materials and input fuels are taken into account in the calculation of the emissions. So yeah, for the short answer, yes, you will need to check the boundary, but it's very high. Like there's a high possibilities that it also include the emission from the source materials.
May I just look again? What are you really producing? If you take already then steel in a raw form, and then you make something which then finally is on the list of these products, then yes. If you take this steel and then you make, I don't know, whatever kitchen appliances out of it, then it's not.
Maybe I will ask something. Yeah, I agree with Luan and Florian that first you have to clear that which product you are mentioned is firstly. The European, they doesn't care who will produce the product, but they will create the ID for the importer to import to Europe. It means you have the first the ID, and you either have the good, and the good is doesn't matter is the provide, but they will be the person who report this report like carbon intensity, and it's the first step. The second step is mean if this product is provided in Vietnam, so it will be direct emission is in Vietnam. So it depends on the product. Some product the Cbam requests you only the direct emission, like steel like steel. But some products they request for indirect emission included. It means some products they will cover the scope 1 and scope 2. None of them request for right now the scope 3. For example, some part of your good is, for example, it's your product is a complexity good. It's not a simple good. So you will report only things you are provide or work in Vietnam, and then you are not request to produce the emission from your supply chain partner or logistic partner. It means it's a scope 3. So it's quite technically, but at least I can answer your question if I know exactly which is your product, and I can say that it will cover some product emission in Vietnam or other country, because I agree with you. A global value chain is not only one country to produce one product, maybe 10 countries produce one product. So, but if you are the last in the supply chain who will export to Europe, you have to report the emission. That's all. It's quite important. Yeah.
Yes, make sense. Make completely sense. Let me see if we have another question. If not, I would like to address one question. That what should the Vietnamese enterprise to prepare to adapt their manufacturing process of exported products to fulfill the criteria in Cbam? I think this is a very typical question, and especially that we are European Business Association. Also, it's quite important to disseminate this information for the Vietnamese companies that are based in Vietnam, of course, and intend to prepare themselves to fulfill the Cbam mechanisms to export to Europe. So, who would like to answer this question?
I may answer it. Sorry,
Okay.
because if someone understand Vietnamese, sorry, Sergio, that you can understand Vietnamese.
Yes.
If not, you can go to television from national, national actually, and I answer this question already. So I think right now, the Vietnamese company who suffer by Cbam, firstly, they need the capacity building, which is I talked in some event before this year, like stain isolation or other isolation. It means they have to collect the data and report the inventory for their product. It's the first important thing. And this will be have the mapping that what is the next step. Some company, if they have high technology, they reduce, they emit a lot of not much emission. They doesn't care. Even they will have to ready to get the benefit from this. It's not suffered by Cbam. But if the company they emit a lot and the high carbon intensity in their product, they have to find the way to reduce it by different things, by some carbon credit, by ready for reporting, because again I mentioned the reporting is have no meaning if they have not further proposed. The greenhouse gas inventory is have the further proposal is will bring the benefit for company like carbon credits they can issue. In Vietnam, we propose that we will design some allowance, emission allowance. So of course, some steel sector they will have permitted for allowance, and of course, if they reduce less than this, they have some benefit from the allowance they have exceed, and they can check for other company, they have not yet enough allowance for emission. So it means the first step now, I got a lot of clients, they care about why they have to report the inventory right now. I say, yes, it's for the future. So the first important thing, as much as the transparency of the greenhouse gas inventory, as much they will save the money for the future. If now they do just like just reporting, just for reporting, they don't know the purpose of reporting, and the data is not enough transparency. Later on, they will lose a lot of money for verifier, for services, or of course, it's a third party. And the key important thing that is will be verified by international verifier or in the European own verifier. It's not like the local verifier. Like us, we are the verifier in Vietnam, but we are not verifier in European. It means someone to ask me to verify for the Cbam, I say, I have to have the permission from European first. Otherwise, it's not. So again, so now a lot of company in Vietnam, it should be do inventory with the good mapping. They will suffer easier the Cbam. Otherwise, if just go around and talking like we affect a lot, but is it how? Nobody knows. So I think, of course, they have to learn from some webinar like today, or from other resource person. But I think the information now is quite important. And that's why I go to media and talk more about this. I agree with Florian that it's not like headache problem, just only the like long-term strategic planning for their business. If they do enough transparent and less emission, they are quite confident and can open more, and even is a very good competitive for the company to say that we are the green product we can export for Europe. It means we can export for anywhere in the world. So I think it is the thing we can see the challenges and also the opportunity for some company in Vietnam, because we are the exporting country. We export a lot. So I think it's also opportunity beside the challenges. Yeah.
I'm agree. We'll